Where the narcissist can't go. Think about that for a minute. So you're learning about narcissism, and you're learning that these people, yes, the toxic people, the narcissists, and other types of people who are similar but perhaps even worse or maybe not as bad, they can't do certain things that you can do. And at the top of that list would be they can't regulate themselves. Now what that means is when things are going sideways in their lives, they cannot control the fact that they can't control what is going on. I'll say it again, a different way. When you can't regulate yourself, what it means is you can't come to grips, you can't come to terms with whatever you're dealing with. It doesn't go, or it isn't going, or it will never go the way you want it to go. And so what happens there is the person becomes unhinged. They fall apart at the seams. They become unglued, and they cannot regulate themselves. Regulation for a human being is the ability to process things, the ability to see things clearly, the ability to understand that, yeah, maybe it didn't work out this time, but it'll work out the next time. Example, pay raise, promotion, trying to get a job. How many times when you were trying to get a job did you get declined or turned down? You had the resume written, you pumped it out to all the people that you were interested in working with, and you made it to the first cut, the second cut, but maybe you didn't make it to the third cut. And you got demoralized, or you felt dejected, or you felt like, wow, that was really horrible. I should have had that job. Well, eventually you got a job because you didn't quit. And that's the difference between you and the narcissist. That's one of millions of differences. But for this video, regulation is the number one thing that you can do. I can certainly do, but the narcissist can't. Another one. Let's think about this. When you were in the relationship with the narcissist, did you have some good times? Yes, of course you did. You had some good times, but those good times never seemed to last. Now you may be saying, you're right, they didn't. Why didn't they last, Andrew? I don't get it. Well, they didn't last because, you see, the narcissist can't have that. They can't have a target or a person being too happy. They can't have a target or a person being authentic or genuine, or essentially being themselves. So when one person, which in this case was you, and it certainly was me, when things were going well for you when you were in the relationship, maybe you got a pay raise or promotion, or you lost weight, or you hit the gym, or you were exercising, or whatever happened, something was going great. Was the narcissist there to celebrate with you? Absolutely not. Were they there to give you a tiny little sliver of fakeness? Possibly, probably not. But they couldn't be pleased for you or happy because, one, they didn't want you to be happy or pleased. Two, they didn't want you to ever believe in yourself. Three, they didn't want to celebrate with you because that would actually have them have to look inside within themselves and say, wait, actually this person's doing great and I'm so happy for them. This is fantastic. They can't do that. You see, if the narcissist could do that, be genuinely happy for another person, then narcissism wouldn't be here on the planet. That's only one of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands or millions of examples I could come up with. But when the narcissist can't regulate themselves, and now you learned that they can't, they never could, they can't now and they won't in the future, then you realize that what you were doing is you were literally spinning around on that hamster wheel of abuse, trying to think that tomorrow would be different, or that later today would be different, or next week would improve, or once we have the baby, things will get better. Once we relocate, things will improve. Once they get a job, things will be great. Once A, B, and C happens, well, you now know that when anything from not only A through Z, or A through C, but A through Z, when any of those things happen, nothing ever improved, which is why the narcissist can't go where you're going. You see, picture, if you will, an elevator. This may not be the best example, and I've never shared it, but I'll share it right now. An elevator, it's the bottom floor, and it goes up to the top floor. Let's say, for this example, the top floor is the 100th floor. Maybe you live in a building like that, maybe you work in a building like that, but this example will be this way. You were doing your best to get to 100th floor. The narcissist didn't want you to get to the 100th floor. What the narcissist wanted was for you to never to leave the first floor. Truth of the matter is they wanted you 6 feet under. Yes, you should be able to read between the lines, but they wanted to go to the 100th floor. The thing is, the narcissist can't get to the 100th floor unless they have what is known as supply. Tie it all together. You should be figuring this out by now. Supply can be a pet, it can be a train, it can be a plane, it can be an automobile, it can be a phone, it can be being hung up on, it can be listening to the narcissist, it can be a rage fit, it can be ghosting somebody, it can be triangulating somebody, it can be being invited somewhere, not being invited somewhere. You see, Any way you cut it, when you're too close to the narcissist, they have the ability to punish you, to pepper you with abuse. And that's what they do. But going back to the example with the 100th floor illustration in the elevator, the narcissist never wanted you getting to the 100th floor. They didn't want you to get the top of that building. They did their best, their damnedest, and they tried their hardest to extinguish you and to steal everything out from underneath you. Well, when it all is over, said and done, and you figured out what narcissism was or is, and you cut the 4 ties, which of course are the emotional, the financial, the physical, and the spiritual tie from said person, and you realize that you're actually elevating. I'm using the elevator as an example, and I hope it resonates with you. When you were with the narcissist, you were on the 1st floor. Truth of the matter is you were lower than that. But then as you cut the ties, you began to ascend, and the elevation began to take place. Then next thing you know, you were at the 2nd floor, and you were like, wait, this is uncharted territory. What's the 2nd floor? What goes on here? Well, that's part of the healing path. Yes, this is a brand new example for you. And of course, I'm free flowing and letting you experience what's going through my mind right now. Well, then eventually you're on the 2nd floor and you're like, wow, this is actually different. The view from here is a little bit different. It's actually better. And I'm still connected with that toxic person, but they don't have direct access like they used to. What happens? Well, you keep on working on yourself. Next thing you know, you look and you're on, the elevator's taking you up to the 8th floor. And now you're like, wait, I'm actually higher than I thought. And I have another connection broken with the narcissist, meaning they're not around me nearly as much, and I'm getting higher. I'm seeing things a little bit clearer. As time goes by, that elevator is rising for you. I'm going to fast forward. Next thing you know, you're at the 50th floor. You're way high up. But you look up and you realize that there's still 50 more floors to go to. You look down and you realize that in the elevator example, and you look down and you realize there's no narcissist anywhere in your life. You're now in a place that doesn't involve toxicity, but what it does involve is time. What it does involve is patience. What it does involve is resilience. What it does involve is fortitude and your direction, which now you should know is going up. As your direction's going up, the narcissist is going down. Now that's not being rough, it's not being mean, it's not being ill will or wishing ill will upon anybody. This is reality, what I'm sharing with you. So I'll fast forward. Next thing you know, you're at the 90th floor and you're almost at the top and you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought I could get here. This is absolutely incredible. What's happening with me? I look good, I sound great, my energy's returning, my health is returning, my clarity's here, I'm sleeping like a baby. I've cut out all the toxicity from my life. I've implemented boundaries. The boundaries are doing the work for me. I've cut all the 4 ties from said person and things are going really well. Okay, this is good. You look down, you can't even see the 80th floor, the 70th, the 60th, 50s, and you don't even really remember what it was like to be stuck in that narcissistic abusive cycle. You remember the toxic parts, but you don't remember as much as you used to because you're elevating. Eventually you get to the 100th floor. And the 100th floor is where the narcissist can't go. Truth of the matter is they can't get to the 2nd floor. You see, they're eternally stuck. They're eternally stunted. These shapeshifters, this dark energy, they can't ever elevate. The only way they can is with a fuel source. And even if they have a fuel source, it's a temporary elevation. It doesn't last. It's not sustainable. And eventually, as gravity dictates, they fall back down to the 1st floor. You want the truth, they fall back down below the 1st floor, below, let's say below where the darkness exists, below your shoe. Let's put it like that. But what happens eventually over time is as you cut the ties, you get stronger. As you get stronger, the clarity arrives in your mind. The clearer your mind gets, the more you realize that relationship wasn't as bad as you thought it was. It was 1,000 times worse, which is why for this example, and I'll finish the elevator example, they can't go where you're going. You could do whatever you wanted to. You could sit down and talk to them until you're blue in the face. You could explain to them their poor behavior. You could explain to them how much you cared about them. You could explain to them how much money you gave them, how much you love them, and how much you want the best for them. It will all go by the wayside. Picture, if you will, a bottle of water that's being opened and drained down the drain. You dump it out the sink. You shouldn't do that because without water, there's no life. But I'm giving you an example. That's what your words would be. That's what would be happening with your words when you're communicating with the narcissist. You see, it goes in one ear and out the other. The narcissist believes they're smarter than you. They believe they're stronger than you. They believe they're more intelligent than you. They believe that they owned, past tense, owned you. They believe that they know so much more about everything, when the truth of the matter is they know nothing about everything. What they do know is one thing. They have one manipulating tactic, one manipulating skill set, and it's getting quite old on the planet. And most of us by now have either learned about narcissism, are learning, or have gone no contact. And the one skill set the narcissist had, and the truth of the matter is they still have it to a degree right now, is they have the ability to lure people into webs. They have the ability to sell themselves like snake oil salespeople. They have the ability to use their charm, to use their rhetoric, to use their intelligence, to use their looks, if you will, if they're the somatic narcissist, or to use scripture if they are the communal narcissist. They use whatever skill they have to try to put out as much bait as they possibly can to have people fall into the trap. And whoever falls into the trap, do they care? They actually don't care who falls into the trap, as long as it is a breathing human being who has something that they can take from said person. So you may think that you were the one that the narcissist really loved, that the narcissist really cared about, and that the narcissist couldn't live without. Well, you would be not correct, because the narcissist has no love. They have no empathy. What they looked at you as I've shared for so many years, they looked at you as an appliance that they could plug you into, or they could plug into you and burn you out and use you up. And then, as I shared in yesterday's video, they will take you out because they were using you as a battery. They will throw you in the bin, crumble you up like a sheet of paper, throw you away in the freeway, and insert a new battery, i.e. a new supply source. And this is why when you cut the ties from said person, you begin to elevate. And that elevator example, the more I think about it, it's a very good example. The only one I couldn't quite figure out is if you're in an elevator, you're indoors, so you couldn't see down below. But let's call it an outdoor elevator, for example. It's an outdoor elevator with glass, and you can see all around, and you can see the bottom. So there you go. I just tightened that part up. See, this is what happens when you free flow. This is what happens when you're in the high vibrational state. This is what happens when you see things crystal clearly. See, there's always a way out. There's always a path. There's always a solution. There's always an answer. If you think that there isn't, if you think that right now you're in a space that you can't get out of, you need to think again. There is always a way out. I got out. If I got out, you can get out. You need to believe in yourself the way I believe in you, and you need to really understand that communicating with these toxic people will never benefit you now. It won't benefit you in the future, and it has never, ever benefited any one person, because it all is a house of cards. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's a foundation built upon quicksand. And when you have two people in a relationship and one person is not committed, the other person is committed, the person who is not committed has nothing to lose. Play that part of the video and play it multiple times. The person who cares is the person who gets damaged. The person with the empathy is the person who gets damaged. The person who has the ability to love is the person that gets damaged. The person who has no love, no empathy, and doesn't care, there's nothing for them to get damaged from. Because why? Because they inflict the damage. You need to play this video hundreds or thousands of times, because where you're going, the narcissist can't go. And as that elevator example shared with you, you're at the top floor. The top floor is where the view is crystal clear. The air is rarefied. The view goes on for eternity, and it is very, very beautiful up here. This is what is called the mountaintop, the pinnacle of indifference. So using that example as the elevator illustrated, whatever floor you think you're on, you need to keep going. If you've reached the 100th floor, that means you've broken the curse. You're the generational curse breaker. You've broken the trauma bond. You have kicked the narcissist to the curb, and you've healed. If you haven't, that means you're working on yourself. Any way you cut it, you need to work on getting as far away from said person as fast as you can. And before I close the video, I will share this. I understand very clearly that not everybody can kick the narcissist to the curb. I understand crystal clearly that many people have connections with the narcissist, that they have to wait for these connections to dissipate. Example, 401k, divorce, the assets, the child, custody, the parental division of time shared with certain assets and children, etc. Well, I get it. You need to focus on yourself and control what you can control, and you need to realize that the narcissist will continue, and I mean continue, to throw anything at you, including the kitchen sink, to disrupt your energy. Until when? Until they can't do it any longer. And when they can't, it's when you've reached the 100th floor, as the elevator example shared, and they're stuck way down on the first floor, and they have no way, no means, no intelligence, no direction, and no fuel to get them even to the second floor. That's why you need to take this very seriously, and you need to cut the ties with said person. as soon as you possibly can, because these people are sinking ships. They're ticking time bombs. They only deteriorate. They only get worse. They will never improve, ever. It cannot happen. It's one of the laws of the universe, and it's one of the laws of this planet. Just like gravity. What is gravity? Well, what goes up must come down. There is your narcissistic relationship in a nutshell. The theory of gravity. What goes up must come down. So everyone, that's the video. I hope you liked it. I loved doing it from the beautiful Carolinas. This is Andrew. Namaste. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning, no matter where you are on the planet. You are not alone. I love you all, and I'll talk with you tomorrow. A couple quick things. One, where you're going, the narcissist can't go. Number two, you should know that by now. Number three, if you don't, you need to realize the narcissist is a parasite. They were looking for a host. They were looking for someone to steal from. That cannot be you any longer. The sooner you realize that, the better off you are. And don't feel sorry for the narcissist. Don't listen to their false narrative. Don't listen to the rhetoric. There's not one more thing you could have done. You gave them all your time. You gave them your money. You gave them your energy, your emotions. You gave them your connections. You gave them your intelligence, your hopes, dreams, aspirations, and so much more. And what did they do? They took it all, and they took it all for granted. And once they got whatever they wanted and they found another supply source, or they thought that they had finished you off, they crumbled you up like that sheet of paper. They threw you away in the freeway, and they thought you would never, ever, ever heal. But you've done it just like I have. So continue to focus on yourself. Always believe in yourself and understand that yes, you are the priority. You come first, second, third. Love you all, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Bye.